Billy Collins Jr. turned pro in 1981. He impressively won his first 14 professional contests, 11 by knockout, with 8 inside the first 3 rounds. On June 16, 1983, Billy was matched up against Puerto Rican journeyman Luis Resto on the undercard of Roberto Duran vs. Davey Moore at Madison Square Garden in a 10-round bout. What otherwise would have been classed as a very good undercard fight became a spectacle in brutality. For 10 rounds, the fighters traded heavy blows. Billy's eyes slowly started to swell, and it was no ordinary swelling. By the last rounds, not only were the eyes puffy and closing, but the whole area around the eyes, cheekbones, and forehead was grossly inflated. Despite the pounding it took, Billy still swung that left hook until the final bell. There had been no hint of mercy from Luis Resto, who went after Billy like a maniac, pounding and smashing every inch of his opponent's face and body into pulp. The fight, predictably, ended with Luis taking the win. As the corners came in to shake hands and Resto went to congratulate Collins, he shook hands with Billy Sr., who immediately noticed that the glove was missing padding and called for the commissioner. In footage from the fight, you can see Luis trying to pull away as Billy Sr. asks for the officials to step in. Resto had been fighting with approximately 1 ounce of padding removed from each of his gloves, and the hand wraps he wore had been dipped in plaster of Paris, hardening over the course of the fight and essentially becoming bricks. Resto had been smashing in Billy's face for 10 rounds with a pair of hammers. After the fight, a full investigation was launched by the New York State Boxing Commission. It was found that Panama Lewis, Resto's trainer, had meticulously planned this to give his guy an unfair advantage. And apparently, he had done this before, twice. Subsequently, both Resto and his trainer Carlos Panama Lewis were convicted of assault, conspiracy, and criminal possession of a deadly weapon. Both were banned from boxing for life. Resto received a sentence of 1 to 3 years, Lewis 2 to 6. Both served 2.5 years. Although both men were convicted, the damage had already been done. After the fight, Collins suffered a torn iris and permanent blurred vision and was told he could never box again. He lost 2 subsequent jobs and spiraled into depression. Billy began smoking marijuana and drinking heavily. In a sad ending to the whole event, Billy was involved in a car crash near his home on March 6, 1984, which proved fatal. The accident killed Billy on impact, and many people say that because of the depression and the fact that he could never box again, he may have committed suicide. His family launched lawsuits against the fight promoters, Top Rank Boxing, the referee, the inspectors, and Everlast, the glove manufacturer. But because of Billy's death, all lawsuits were thrown out. The Collins family never saw a cent in restitution. The only consolation the Collins family had in the end was that Billy Collins Jr.'s defeat at the hands of Luis Resto was rightfully removed from his professional record. But what happened with Luis Resto? In 2007, 24 years after the incident, Resto met with Billy's widow and his own estranged wife and kids, confessed to cheating, and asked for their forgiveness. 2 years later, in 2009, he publicly admitted that he knew about the doctored gloves and also revealed that Panama Lewis had been giving him a magic potion during the fight, water mixed with asthma medication, in order to open the lungs and give him a second burst of air. In 2011, Resto applied to NYSAC for a seconds license, which would allow him to enter the arena, the dressing rooms, and the corner as a fighter's second. It would also mean he would be entitled to the trainer's cut of a fighter's purse. He took the written test and passed with a score of 90%. Almost 5 months after submitting his application, Resto received a response from NYSAC. The concluding paragraph of that letter states, "A licensed boxing second is expected to assist in a boxer's corner and may be called upon to assist with the fighter's gloving and wraps. Failure to properly perform these tasks may lead to the harming of an opponent. Due to the direct relationship between your prior illegal actions, which also violated commission rules, and the duties of a licensed boxing second, the commission finds that you lack the general fitness and character required for licensure, and granting your application would not be in the best interest of boxing. Accordingly, the commission hereby denies your application for a license as a boxing second and is returning your license fee." Seems fair, right? But let's look at the other side of the coin. There is the argument that Resto had served his time. He'd been punished long enough, had suffered long enough, and that Panama Lewis was the real malignant force at work that night. There is also the wider question of consistency. Resto committed a crime as a boxer and was refused a license as a second 29 years after committing that crime, because according to NYSAC, he was a potential risk. Antonio Margarito committed a similar crime as a boxer, though he was caught before he could do any damage at the beginning of 2009. By the end of 2011, he was licensed as a boxer and fighting in New York State in the rematch against Miguel Cotto, under the jurisdiction of NYSAC. Various articles in the media estimate that Margarito's fight purse was between $2.5 and $2.75 million. Ron Scott Stevens, former chairman of NYSAC, was present at the fight. Though he admits he would have had to look long and hard enough at the question if it had been posed to him during his tenure, he added, "Boxing is the sport of the underdog. If there's any sport that should help people and give them a second chance, it's boxing. That's sort of what the sport is based on. People fighting their way out of terrible circumstances." It is doubtful that Resto would have tried to commit any kind of infringement of boxing rules. He certainly would have been more aware than anyone of the price the guilty party pays. He now lives in Bronx and offers his advice and training to young aspiring boxers from the area. Whether Luis Resto got what was coming to him or deserved the second chance that he never got is a matter of opinion, and your opinion is just as good as mine. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more sports content. In the meantime, click on these thumbnails to check out our other videos. Hope you have a great day ahead.